to around? Where do you
Well,
play
I've
in New
been
York?
playing a lot more rock clubs. I'm all over the country, but I've been trying to book more rock and roll clubs, and so you don't have the comedy club audience, the people who show up like comedy's some brand name, where they do expect just some pablum, where you're playing to bachelorette parties and people in balloon hats that want 20 free tickets to see. Yeah, it's just not respected as an art form. So it's nicer to just book one night in a rock and roll club where people who know me will show up. And then
do you feel that comedy's changing? We're getting out of that kind of milk through the nose club thing?
No, I don't see anything in this country changing as far as entertainment goes. It's getting more and more dull, and it's almost like that whole corporate work ethic has slipped into the arts, where people, expect that from the artist. They expect clean and sober and polished and no fun and nothing spontaneous. And
what comics do you like? Do you like other comics?
Yeah, most the guys that you know, like Dave Attell is obviously one of my favorites. Mitch Hedberg was a favorite of mine. But most of the guys I really like, no one's ever heard of. They don't even get work. Like all the edgy, weird, offbeat guys don't get booked.
Do you like Gilbert?
Never seen him live. That's the one guy I really want to see live.
I think Gilbert is the best of our lifetime. I really think I've seen Gilbert, 10, 15 times. And Gilbert has, what you're always looking for is someone who has the skill and then doesn't use it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you want. That's what you get out of Bob Dylan. Whatever inspiration strikes, they're going to go with, and they'll take it anywhere. But if you said to Gilbert, here's Leno's monologue from tonight, do it. Or write Leno's monologue, he can do it all. He's just choosing not to.
I saw a friend of mine in Houston, Texas, named Rob Mungle, went up on open mic, and he's a pretty good comic. Mm-hmm. And he went up at open mic night, and he did 10 jokes, 10 topical jokes in a row, and they just all ate. And we're all even the comics are going, what is he doing? This is awful. And at the end of this dead silent set, he goes, thank you. All of these jokes were taken from Jay Leno's monologues last week. I just wanted you to see how well he'd do if he were in a live audience and didn't know who he was.
Wow.
It was fantastic. Oh, we came out of our seat.
Man, that's a great idea. You know Eddie Gordetsky?
No.
Fat Eddie G. He's one of the writers now on 2.5 Men or one of those things, and which I haven't seen. But he won Emmys for Saturday Night Live and David Letterman. He's just really funny, cool guy. And when he was writing on Letterman, they finished up the monologue for Letterman. They got the whole monologue together, and for some reason they were a little bit ahead of schedule, which never happens on Leno. And he runs over to Show World. This is back in the 80s when Show World in New York was still, transsexual, and you could talk to a live nude girl. And he goes in, he runs in with Letterman's monologue, and he puts his $20 in, where the screen raises.
Yeah.
He picks up the phone there. And he says, I just want to bounce Letterman's monologue off you. She's going, what are you, crazy? And he goes, no, I'm one of the writers on Letterman. This is actually his monologue from tonight. Go home and see it. And she goes, what do you want me to do, take my panties off? He goes, no, I just want you to hear the monologue. Okay? So he sits there with the monologue and a pencil and the phone up. And he does the whole Letterman monologue word for word the way it's going to be. And he makes notes, right? Yeah. And he then goes, thanks a lot. Door closes. He runs back to all the guys at Letterman and go, here's how a random sex worker in New York reacts to our work. He said, with not being in Dave's voice, this is what we're doing. So I think it's a very, very hip thing.
You don't hear stories like that anymore. Where is that kind of fun anymore? That's why I like people. Like Gilbert, I've heard, has a great walkout record on the road, which I look at as a sign of a good comic.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think you want to have something that's a little bit polarizing. There's an interesting thing about Gilbert, though, that's psychologically, artistically so important, is I have been to a lot of Gilbert shows, and the audience is hysterical. But then afterwards, you talk to the audience members, and they all say the same thing. They all say, I was laughing my ass off, but no one else was getting it. No one else was getting it. You know, it was all over their heads. They weren't getting it. And there's this weird thing, and I think it may be an American culture thing, where if you really like something, one of the things you do is try to convince people that no one else likes it. You know, when I was working with avant-garde bands,
or knew it before it was popular.
Yeah, but I mean, there'd be hardcore fans that would, their first thing they'd say is, I love you guys, you know, everybody hates you. Okay.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
But usually they're right.
Exactly.
I have the weirdest fan base in the world, where there'll be 100 people at a comedy club, and 98 of them have no idea who I am. They just showed up for comedy. And but two guys like rode a goat for 6 days across the desert and slept out for tickets, and then you feel bad because you don't have, like, you got to hang out with them. Like, oh, I drove all the way from Canada to New York City. Like, oh, now I gotta, and then I end up hanging out with them, and they're at my house for Thanksgiving, and then 2 years later, I don't even like these people. I feel bad.
They just invested too much.
Yeah.
Invested too much, yeah. They had the currency to buy something you didn't want to sell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's very strange.
You also do you did a lot of, like, weird pranking on the web, right? You do a lot of, like, chat.
Well, I just put out the baiting book. Hey, thanks. Nice plug. I forgot that's out. I had to self-publish. We were going to do it through Disinfo, but the partners split up, and the guy that was on my side left the company, Metzger. So, but I self-published. Baiting is, we used to do it a lot back when I had time, because it's just so much fun. Go to baiting.org. You can see some of the stuff, or go to DougStanhope.com and just buy the book. It's the you set up your AOL Instant Messenger profile, saying that you're a 13-year-old girl that likes hot, sexy chat with older men, and you bait pedophiles into some of the best.
So this is exactly what the FBI does.
Except we're just doing it to be funny.
Okay.
It's not even like perverted justice where you're sending the cops over there. We're just screwing with them. It's just some of the funniest stuff I've ever written, and none of it you could repeat on this show. It is the most foul. In fact, a lot of the stuff for the Aristocrats joke I took from baits that I'd written.
And so people jump right on that right away when you say you're 13-year-old?
Yeah, if you sit there long enough, you'll have too many boxes open to keep the conversations going at once. I mean, a lot of them you can tell it's probably a teenager himself, but he read your profile. It said, if you're under 20, don't even bother wasting my time. You can tell a lot of times by the way they spell, you rock, R-O-K. They use a number 4 instead of the word for. Yeah, it's probably not a 30-year-old dude.
But how many the guys that are doing that do you think know that it could be someone that's just a monkey with them? Or do they all think they're talking to a 13-year-old girl?
Well, you can kind of tell. I'm fairly perceptive. Like a lot of guys, the fans of the site would, log your screen name into
oh, I see. Yeah.
So as soon as you came up on their friends list, they'd try to,
So people pranking people who are pranking other people.
Trying to, but they're never good. That's the
totally.
thing.
It's that or cops.
It's that or cops. Yeah. And it's funny because in this particular case, you're on the side of what's become truth and justice. So what you're doing is considered a public service, I suppose.
Well, yeah, no one's going to. Hey, that's wrong.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like it's like torturing cockroaches.
What I wanted to do is do a prank phone call CD version of baiting, and I bought one of those voice synthesizers to try to make myself sound like a 13-year-old girl. Because if you could get that stuff on the phone, it would be absolutely hilarious. But the thing just ended up making me sound like Stephen Hawking. It was just all really electronic, but.
But could you? I mean, you know girlfriends or something with maybe high voices that you feed information.
You have to be that funny that quick.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
How many hot chicks are?
Yeah, we're looking for a 13-year-old comic.
Yeah, and then we get this idea of the air when it turns out we're judged. No. See, what we were trying to do was get the voice right.
It's a gag.
Sir, Your Honor, it was the voice.
Let me read a transcript, right? What you have made this little girl say to the man on the telephone.